Welcome to Stress-Free IEP. You do not need to do it all alone. With your host, Frances Shefter, Principal of Shefter Law. You can get more details and catch prior episodes at www.shefterlaw.com. The Stress-Free IEP video podcast is also posted on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you can listen to episodes through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Now, here's the host of Stress-Free IEP, Frances Shefter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. And for my Marylanders, I hope you're still enjoying the snow, but thankfully kids are back in school again. And we only had 3 days off in Montgomery County, but I know some others had more. Today's special guests are Arlene Lechner and Melissa Hochberg, and they are co-founders of EASE. They're special education teachers, sexuality educators, and mental health first aid certified. And I am so excited, but I'm going to let them explain why, because I'm going to have them explain why they created EASE and what their backgrounds are. So Arlene and Melissa, go for it.
Hi. So we started EASE in 2020. Arlene and I were both working at the Poses JCC in Fairfax, Virginia. And I had been running a social club for about 15 years for people with autism, needing less support, and teens, young adults, and adults. And we went all over the area, all kinds of outings. And then before the pandemic, people started asking me, how can I learn more about sex ed? And I was in a relationship and then I held their hand and now I'm not in a relationship. Or I kissed my girlfriend and now I don't have a girlfriend and I don't understand why. And so I said, well, did you ask them if you could kiss them? Did you ask for consent? No, they're my girlfriend. So we said, well, we need to talk about consent and you need to learn about all of these things. And then at that time, Arlene was overseeing social skills classes and for teens and tweens. And she was meeting with the parents to share resources. And the parents would say, oh, my child got suspended because they hugged someone in the hallway, because they had seen another couple hug each other or two people hug each other. And so they just walked up and hugged each other, but then they got suspended and they didn't understand why. They didn't learn anything. And it was a big inconvenience for everyone. And so Arlene started talking about, we have to figure out how to teach all of the kids of all ages these skills. So I looked for a place to get trained. And after 2.5 years, I found Elevatus training and was trained and then asked Arlene if she wanted to do this with me with a little twist of the arm. And she said, yes. So we're both special ed teachers and we dove in.
Yeah, and it's so needed, I know, because I know, like with my experience, a lot of times the issue with our neurodiverse kids is that, yes, they have the sex education, but it's never to their level or to their level of understanding. Mm-hmm. And sometimes parents even opt out because it's so not appropriate at that point for this child. While they might be 13, mentally they're not quite there yet. And so I know the schools aren't addressing it the way it needs to be.
Right. That was huge for us when we were looking at creating EASE and offering classes. Parents kept saying to us, it's not accessible. It's not comprehensive, it's modified. So they're not getting everything that they need to get. And then, it didn't include a lot about relationships, consent, boundaries, like those big, topics that people with disabilities are missing. And so when we went to create our curriculum, we took all of these things into consideration. We wanted it comprehensive and, accessible, so they have time to, process. But then there's visuals and there's videos and scenarios and all those things that, help students be able to learn, but also then learn at their level and get all the information that they need.
That is so important. And so I know you said a curriculum. So like, how is it taught? Is it like individualized, or is it just one class that they all take? Like, what does that look like?
So the EASE classes, we offer classes for teens, and they are 12 weeks, 2 hours. And yes, teens can sit for that long. And like Arlene said, we use videos and visuals. We read everything. So if someone cannot read, that's not an issue. Scenarios, discussions, music. We laugh a lot. And we teach all of the information. And then each week, the following week, we have a review, which can be anywhere from a half hour to an hour, depending on the topic. And then all of the information is then woven in each class. And the classes for adults are 16 weeks, 2 hours, because we go into the dating and online dating and mature relationships in more depth. But again, it's taught the same way. And because we're special ed teachers, we know how to teach to the class and teach to the individuals. And we love it when we collaborate with parents, therapists, social workers, whoever is supporting the student. And then every week after the class, we send out a handout with the topics that we'll cover the next week. And then all the videos that we showed in class, because a lot of times when we show people how to slow them down so that you can catch everything, and then handouts of all the material that we teach so that everybody who is supporting the student is on the same page with the language and the visuals, and then they're able to refer back to it as needed.
Right, which is also so important because, like vocabulary and terminology, it needs to be consistent, especially with our neurodiverse kids, because it's, they don't generalize. And if somebody says something one way and a different way, they don't see that it's the same thing. Right?
Exactly. So, that's why we send out this email once a week, and we make sure, that the parent and the therapist and whoever else is working with or interacts with the student gets all the information, because then everyone's saying it all at the same way and everyone's on the same page. And then we also like collaborating with parents and therapists. If a scenario comes up, like during the week or something happens, we can put that into the class. And then, if one person's having this issue, it benefits everyone to learn how to handle it, because they might have gone through it already, or it could be coming up. Right. So, it's really important that we collaborate. And like you said, to make sure everyone is using the same language, just like they would in school or any other way. This information is really important for them to hear from everyone the same way as well.
Got it. So it's basically, it's a curriculum, but it's also, you're bringing in real life if there's any questions and stuff like that. So it's not like you have to do this way and that type of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Which, as we know, with special, as former special ed teachers, like that's not going to work ever.
Exactly.
So, and so you said the classes, do you do it in person or are you virtual? What does that look like?
The classes are online. They're on Zoom. So we have people log in from all over the country.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So, and if someone needs to get up and move around, they can, some people have someone sitting there with them, a parent, a support person. We have them sit off camera, but or not, depending on what they need. We just want everybody to get what they need so they can access the information.
Got it. And you said teens. So what age group is that you guys work with?
So our teens are generally 13 to 17. It's 6th, 7th grade. Some people start middle school 6th grade, some 7th grade. So we say middle school to 17, but then, that 18 and up have, legal implications in Virginia and other places. So, we keep it 17, and then 18 and up is our adult classes.
Which makes sense. And then is it based on age or is it based on maturity level? I mean, obviously the 18 and above has to be aged because of the legal implications. But when it comes to the youngers, or does it just kind of?
We can meet everybody where they are.
Got it.
So there, may have a 33-year-old who's at a 13-year-old level, but they still need to know all of the adult law, the information they need to know based on ages 18 and up. So we just meet people where they are and keep going.
And even everyone, teens too, like teens, they might be 15, 16 years old, could be on a, much younger cognitive level, but they still need to know how to have safe relationships, understanding how to advocate for themselves, whether they're, when they're 16 and 17, also what's happening to their body. They still need to know it, even if they're on a younger cognitive level, they still are going through that. It's not that, so.
And I know for me, like one of my concerns is as my daughter gets older, because my 10-year-old's on the spectrum, is that her trusting and naivety, being naive and to know, like, when a boy says this, it might not totally be the truth. I'm assuming you go into all of that as well.
Yes. And we talk about, if you don't know what something means, it's okay to ask. It's okay to talk to your parent. We have everybody who takes the classes when they're filling out their intake paperwork to say who their safe person is. And it may be a parent, it may be a sibling, a relative, a guardian. And so very often we'll say, that's something you need to talk to your safe person about. And then we will let their safe person know. This came up in class. This student was asking about this, and we want to make sure they're getting the support out of the class as well.
And I'm assuming you give the safe person some guidance on what to say, how to say in those situations.
So with our teen class, we also, in addition to giving individual support throughout the classes, we also have 2 parent meetings, and they're informational meetings. So the first one, we go over the structure of the class, but also how do I answer questions as they come up. We give, 2 different methods. We also, hear some resources for parents, how to have and how to continue the conversations. When you're having a conversation, you're not, it's really awkward, to sit down with your child and be like, okay, today's the talk, and they're totally receptive to that, right? Not so much, right? So we talk about, you're driving in the car, to the grocery store, and what happened at school today, and something comes up. You have a quick conversation, and you're in the car. You can turn purple, they can turn red, but they have nowhere to go, and neither do you. And you can have a conversation for 10 minutes there, right? Yeah. Or you're watching a movie, or, something comes up. Oh, did that look like a healthy relationship? Did you hear consent, while you were watching a movie? Like, we show clips from Frozen, from The Big Bang Theory, Atypical. There's a lot of different clips that we show that show what's healthy, what's unhealthy, so that you can, those are different ways that spark the conversations for parents to have with their kids, as opposed to the let's be formal, you know.
And I
Yeah.
know, I think when we first met, I shared with you, like, because I ran into, because I know you do older, but like my 10-year-old, because of the movie Hocus Pocus, asked me what a virgin was.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of saying, oh, a virgin's somebody that hasn't kissed somebody. So then she's going around and saying, oh, well, Esther, who's my 7-year-old, neither of us are virgins anymore because we've kissed. And I'm like, wait. Not the right thing to
Hold
say.
on.
That's not right. Because I didn't think about it. I mean, thankfully it was just at home still, so I was able to correct it. But then you don't think about things like that. As a parent, I'm like, I'm not ready to explain to a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old what a virgin is, And then of course my 10-year-old's like, what's sex, Mom? And I'm like, something you do when you're married, I don't know.
Right. And like, that's one of those things where you kind of have to know where your child is, education wise.
Okay.
Yeah, there's this book is fantastic. We call it the Great Bathroom Book, but Melissa will tell you about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's the woman who wrote it, and we've been in touch with her, and she has 99 sticky notes in here. And so kids wrote questions, and this was, what happens if you don't feel like having sex? And then you flip it up and it answers, and they're we say family-friendly answers, and that depends on the family. But there is one in here, what is sex? And so it's 99 questions, and it's just a great book to have around, because when the questions
hit Amazon.
yes, yeah, tell me. But it's a wonderful book, and it's a great, even if you're just, you take that question, you say, hold on, you find the answer to give you some more information to answer the questions. Yeah.
Right.
Because and we also, I just want to say, we also have one parent meeting with our adult classes. Mm-hmm. So to go over the same information.
Got it. No, that makes sense. I was going to say, of course, now I lost my train of thought because that's just the way I am. No, you're fine.
Well,
no, go ahead.
Sorry. One of the things, like when your daughter asked, what's a virgin, and you knew it came from Hocus Pocus, that's great, because that's what we tell people. Verify your understanding. Like, where did they hear that from?
Yeah.
Was it the locker room? Was it the bus? Was it a movie? Did your older sibling say something?
Yeah.
Things like that, because, if you want to know what they're asking. Like, we tell this funny story. Melissa, do you want to share this?
Yeah. So there's this little girl, and she's in 3rd grade, and she comes home from school, and her mother, had picked her up, and she's bringing in groceries and doing too many things. And her daughter says, Mom, where did I come from? And she's thinking, oh my goodness, not now. And so she stops and she starts to explain about the penis and the sperm and the egg and the uterus. And the daughter is looking more confused by the minute. And then she goes through it all. And then she said, did that answer your question? And she said, Mom, I know we moved here from, I can't remember where we moved here from. There's a new girl who moved from Syracuse. And where did we come from? And her mother's like, are you kidding?
I could have saved myself the trouble.
Yeah, all I had to say was Rochester. So you want to ask, oh, that's a really good question. Why are you asking that? And then if she said, oh, I saw it in the movie, if you didn't see that part, say, oh, can you show me where it is in the movie?
Right. And it's so true, because that's the thing is, yeah, like I don't know, like my kids, they're like, Mom, did I come from your tummy? I'm like, yep, you did. And that was enough,
Right.
We also, my kids are fertility babies. And so we have a lot of the books of the, that type of stuff. So they're a little more advanced on that sense. But that reminded me of what I was thinking is that, like, I read the books about what to expect from your body as you're changing as a girl and all that other stuff. but it doesn't go into relationships, and it doesn't go into any of that stuff, and it doesn't go into the, physical aspects of anything other than what's happening with your body. And it's so important though.
Right. It's like that we have one class about sexual feelings, but how does that feel and what can you do about it? But it's not, like you were saying, it's not just the physical piece on how you feel. It's all the emotions that come with it, and how do I know if I'm ready or not ready, or, what do I say if, I want to consent or I don't want to consent, and how all that, like, we never learned it growing up that either. Like, it was like, here's the girls film strip, here's the boy film strip. Now I'm really aging myself, but
but that's what it was, right?
It was, right.
Yeah. I don't think it's gotten much better, honestly. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if they still separate them though, but like I remember that because girls and boys needed to learn different things, and it makes sense to me even today to separate, because girls aren't going to ask certain questions in front of boys, and boys aren't going to ask certain questions in front of girls. Although
it's very interesting because our classes are co-ed. We've taught, of all the classes we've taught, we've had one female only class, which definitely had a different, vibe to it. But our classes are co-ed. And what we've found is that people in our classes who are neurodivergent are very accepting and open and share everything. Like,
wow.
and are not, it might take them, especially the teens, could take 4 or 5 classes before, they're fully comfortable, in any situation. It takes them, the first week of school, second week of school, it takes a while. But then it's like, here I go. I'm going to ask the question. They can use chat. They can answer out loud. They can email. So we've heard very similar, or very open, and, with every topic. It's been quite eye-opening for us and very interesting, and we've learned a lot too from them. So
we always learn from our students.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm just thinking, like, I could see it on the private, but in school, I think it would be a little different.
In school, right? I think, I agree.
Yeah, up to certain grades, but then depending on the gender and how a person identifies,
That's true.
Then they need to be, everybody needs to be in a place where they can learn.
Right. And so do you go into how people identify? Like, does that come up? Is that a topic?
Yeah. So in our first class, we talk about this is, how you learn about yourself. The 12 week or 16 weeks, you're here to learn about you and learn about your relationships. And the first relationship is with yourself and your body. And so we do talk about gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation. And in our classes, we teach just facts. So we teach what it is, we give the definition, we show a picture of, the representation of what it is. And then if they say, well, how do I know? Or what, that's conversations you need to have with, a safe person or someone at home, because that's not something we can't say. It's not up to us to say yes or no, or this is what you should, So, but we want to give them the information so they have the facts. And so we do cover the facts of all that.
Which is so important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say that most times if parents are kind of on the fence about having their child of any age take the class, when we share that we only teach facts, we don't make judgments. And if someone is asking about a judgment, that's when we refer them to their safe person.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to know, because it's every family is slightly different on how they're accepting of it and what they want their children. I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, no way, never going to accept it. I don't even want my kid hearing about it, but the reality is your kid's going to hear about it.
Well,
You know?
that's the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
whether it's gender or sexual orientation or even pornography, sex, everything. They either hear about it from you or you can send them to us. We're happy to talk about it with
Right.
them, right? Or they're going to go to a source that is not, could be
Exactly.
online, could be again, a friend who didn't get the information, who knows where they're getting this information from. So,
Right.
That's another reason why we started Ease, is that we know sometimes conversations are hard and everyone has different backgrounds. Like, did your parent give you a book and say, here, you read, and now that's the only way you know how to talk about it is by the book they gave you? Or maybe your parents didn't talk about it at all, so then you're like, well, where do I start? Right. And so,
and it's, do you want them to learn it from the other kids in the neighborhood,
right,
or the older kids in the neighborhood, or or who else that they come in contact with,
right.
and
how are they processing this information?
Right. Because
And are they getting
right, like, the moms that I talk about it all the time, like, we're so not ready, and it's like, ready or not, it doesn't matter. It's happening. Like,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
It's so interesting because we've seen a lot of facts where it says there are kids who are as young as 10 are viewing porn now. Like that, 10 to 12 years old are viewing porn, which is crazy, but that's what's happening. Everyone has phones, everyone has, they have older siblings with social media, or the older kid on the bus sitting next to them might have opened something and they see it, So again, where do you want your child to hear about it? They may hear about it from you and realize, oh, that's not something that mom wants me to watch or that I know is safe, as opposed to, oh, the first time I see it or hear about it is from the kid on the bus.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's scary. There was something, I want to say it was from Wicked. I don't know if you guys heard about it. The Mattel toy that came out.
Yes, it's instead of having the Wicked website, it was a porn site.
It was a porn site.
Yeah. And I just, oh my gosh, oops. Right, a big oops. But if your kid's aware of like, oh, oops, this isn't something I should be looking at, yeah.
But they have to know what they should and shouldn't be looking at and what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, it takes
because I know, like, yeah.
It takes having those conversations and having the education and having the parents feel comfortable to talk about it.
And it's, I know as a parent of the younger kids, and like to say, oh, they're not going to get exposed, or, oh, I don't need to worry about that. It's, they are. And if you just say, oh, you just don't watch it and don't give them the why, what's the first thing they're going to do when they come across it? Right. I know what we did, like, how do I find it? And we didn't have the internet back then,
Right.
like, Spencer's had that backward, like,
back room. They still have that back room.
No, they don't. It's all like out though.
Right. It's not just the little square.
Like it's
like
the
whole
that,
yeah.
Right. But it used to be you had to go back behind the curtain and only 18. But now, like, I walked in and like my kids are there and they have like all these toys up, and I'm like, my kids are like, what are those? I'm like, yeah, nothing. Like,
we don't need to go that.
But it wasn't. But we didn't have to go to a back room. It was just out in the general, which is just scary because, like, again, our kids are going to be exposed to it, and it's, what is that? What is, and it's, do we ignore it or do we talk about it so that it's us talking about it rather than, who knows at the mall with them or whatever, talking about it. So what, I know you said the book, what other resources do you have, like, for parents and, and guardians and even professionals that might be like, this might be coming up. What do I need to do? Where can I go to help?
If we can share the slides, there we go. Here's one really good resource. So Bark is an app. It's a phone. I think they now have a watch. It's just one resource where you can monitor content for online. So if you're online, this is one really good resource to use or to look up. I know there are other ones, I think Gab or the other ones that you can use as well. They also have a Facebook page called Parenting in a Tech World. And it's overwhelming at times because the stories on there are absolutely frightening, but they also tell about like what to look at on Instagram. Do you think Snapchat's okay? And what are the dangers? What are the positives? All the different things. And it's run, I believe, by the parent liaison from Parenting in a Tech World, or from Bark. And then we also, another resource on Facebook is Officer Gomez. He talks about everything youth, like grooming and trafficking, but then bullying and, what to look for, how to have conversations, not just online safety stuff. So these are social media wise. These are a couple of resources that we recommend.
And those are so important because I know, like, I'm looking at with the tech, like my kids are into Roblox, and I didn't know. Yes, and my daughter one time was like, I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm reporting somebody. I'm like, what do you mean you're reporting somebody? She's like, well, some guy said something and it wasn't appropriate, and so I'm reporting. I'm like, wait, what? Some guy who what? And I didn't realize like anybody could chat with her.
Yep.
And so I went in and locked it down as much as I could. But like, I don't know any difference. Like, we didn't have tech like this when I was a kid. Like, I don't know. And that's scary. And then when it comes to the grooming, I've done a lot of work with the abuse and neglect system in DC. And that's, I mean, those kids are high targets. And so I hear the stories and how easy it is for them. And, so I get, of course, paranoid with my child. And I'm like, I need to make sure I have these conversations with my child as early as now, because how else do you prevent it? Because, my oldest is so sweet and loving and naive and like wants to help everyone. What, somebody says, oh, hey, can you do me a favor? I can't get something out of the van. Can you come help me carry it? Okay. Like not knowing any better.
That's one of the things we talk about online is, these games like Roblox and on a Nintendo Switch. And, if you're any gaming system and you're on Discord or having conversations, do you really know who is talking to you behind that? And so that's a huge piece of what we teach with the online safety and pornography section of the course, because it's so, I mean, I got scammed, right? Through my bank, which was, I teach this, like, how could I have gotten scammed, right? And so, of course, anyone can. And then, you definitely want to make sure, we show them what does a scam email look like? How do you be a detective? We teach them to be a detective and check out, and if you're not sure if this person is real or not, you need to ask your safe person to check with you, because you never know. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's, like my daughter knows, don't give out personal information and don't say where you go to school and don't say your last name. But my daughter also probably wouldn't make that connection. It's like, oh, what park do you go play at?
Right.
That's not a personal information, right? But knowing what park she plays at is something that could be dangerous.
Right. That's really important too, because we talk about, parents are always taking pictures of their kids, everywhere. And so, you're taking a picture at college graduation, high school graduation, you now have said the year they graduated. So you probably, someone could check how old they are, what school they went to, what neighborhood you live in. We talk about when you're going on vacation to post after you've come back.
Right.
Then you're not saying, hey, my house is open.
Exactly.
I'm away for a week. I'm having a fabulous time here in the Dominican Republic or Disney World, and my house is wide open. It's so crazy, all the things that you really have to think about, posting stuff online.
Well, and then there's also that a lot of people don't know is like the metadata in the pictures. Like if you don't go into, especially iPhones, I think all of them these days, if you don't go in and turn it off,
Yep.
it has the location in it. And people can easily, if they can get
That's
to the
where you
picture,
are.
they can get to the location and know exactly. So you might not have anything. It just might be you and your kid in a tree. But guess what? They can figure out where you are.
Figure out, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so
Right.
scary.
And everything that we teach and talk about, we explain the why of it. Because you don't want to just say, oh, don't do this. But this is why you don't want to share this information. And this is why you don't want to, say, oh, I'm on vacation for a week. Like, post it when you get back, and that's okay.
Right. And that's so important because I know, like with my daughter, knowing the why is always so important.
Right.
Because if she doesn't buy into the why, if she doesn't buy into the why, then she's not going to pay attention to it.
Right.
And it's, as soon as you explain the why. And I think I cut you off. I think you guys did. I don't know if we're done with the slides or not, that you had other resources.
We have websites and books that we'd be happy to share as well.
Okay. Yeah. Which we can also, like when we post it, we'll have all these links in the show notes when this gets, like we're live now, but when it gets fully posted, we'll have all this.
Perfect.
Wow. There are a lot of resources out there, right?
Yeah. This is just a handful. Like these are ones that we love, like Sex Positive Families. They have a whole page of resources. Kids Ask. It's very much you type in a question and you say, here's the question. I'm asking this age. I want, can you give me detailed information? And it gives you step-by-step talking tool of how to have a conversation with your kid that age about a topic. Scarletine is, we call it like the 17 magazine of the current day of, that's sort of what
I know
it's
17, like. I remember.
Right. Again, aging. But it talks about like everything, and it has these one-page PDFs called quickies about different topics and, just easy to read and great information. Planned Parenthood has videos. They have this guy, we call him the dude, because they have videos and they're like 1 to 1.5 minutes about, how do you know if someone is giving consent? And they give different scenarios, and then he's always on the couch explaining the little scenario as it's going on.
In the bedroom with them.
Yeah. So, but it's nice to like see a role playing, and then you see how it plays out. Sex Ed Rescue is great for young kids or for parents of younger kids. We still use a lot of her information. Sex Ed Rescue, the woman is Kath Hacketson, and she's based in Australia. Australia has so many good resources, but she breaks down topics by books and websites by age group. And so it's really, she has great information.
And she starts with preschoolers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
never too young.
Like how to talk about
consent
and consent and porn. You don't call it porn, but how do you start having those conversations with young kids? And then Missing Kids or Net Smarts is NCMEC or NCMEC. It used to be, the milk cartons and the pictures on the milk cartons. Mm-hmm. So this was started by them. They have the National Council for Missing and Exploited Children. So they have a ton of videos. They have short videos on sexting, sextortion, My Photo Fate.
Yeah, very powerful.
We love that one because it shows what happens if you send your, person you're dating or someone a nude picture of yourself. What could happen? You have no control once it's posted and how many people can see it. And then it talks about distribution and sending and asking and all of those things that go with it. But they have great resources for parents, educators, and teens. Then Sex Ed VA, has resources. Love is Respect is part. They talk a lot about boundaries, but they're very similar to, or they for domestic violence and sexual abuse and boundaries. And they're one of, I love their website. It's very simple articles, easy to read. They are also one of those websites that if you are going through abuse, that they have somebody on call 24/7 that you can talk to. Defend Young Minds talks about pornography. They have books where we can share the book that's on their website. And then Take It Down is fairly new. So if you know someone or your child has already sent pictures that they don't want out there, you can talk to Take It Down, and they will try and take down as many of the places where that photo has been sent.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their numbers are just growing.
Sure.
The photos that they've taken down each year.
Because you don't think about it, like where the kids don't think about it, they don't develop frontal lobes. They don't think about that, this is my boyfriend. I trust him, what else would he do with
it? But then
we're not gonna, we're in love.
He loves me. He wouldn't do anything bad.
But then he shares it, and then it gets shared and shared and shared. And that's what the video Photo Fate is about. And it explains how it gets shared. And then that can be child pornography as well.
Right. So and that's the other thing that they don't even know or think about is the legal, even as kids with the sexting.
Yes.
And like there are legal implications. Yeah.
Forever. And, unless NCMEC can take it down, and it's hard to get everything. So everything, we teach that everything on your phone or any of your devices is public because you could accidentally send something.
Yep.
So everything is public and everything is forever.
Yeah.
And that's a hard concept.
Right. It's not like it was when we were kids with Polaroid cameras. That's it. Right. The digital stuff.
Right, exactly. The only other person seeing it could be the person at the CVS doing
right?
Developing the picture
about us. What was that movie? I think it was Hope Floats or something, but there was some movie about it. But like the guy was saying, "Oh yes, these are the ones that we save for Friday nights to
right." I know.
Sad but true.
I know, right?
I know. It's crazy. So these are books. One of the ones Melissa mentioned was Tell Me. But then It's Perfectly Normal. This is a great book about changing bodies, growing up, and puberty, and having those conversations. Good book for parents and to share with their child. This is my new favorite book. This is so awkward. It's Karen Natterson and Vanessa Kroll Bennett. And what it is, it's all about puberty. And what it does, each chapter is broken out into 4 parts. So one part is the science and what's going on with your body. The second part of each chapter is how things have progressed over the years. Like, for instance, puberty, is now starting earlier. They say with girls, it can start as early as 8 these days, which is quite scary. And yeah, I'm sure as well.
I'm already at 10.
Yeah, exactly. And then how do you talk about the topic? So different ways to have the conversations. And then the last part of each chapter is told through the lens of an older kid or an older person who has just gone through it or has gone through it a while ago and their perspective on it. So it's a pretty new book, but it's amazing. Like, you can read it. You don't have to read it all in a row. You can go different chapters, but such a good book. The Boyfriends and Girlfriends Guide to Dating for People with Disabilities. They have checklists. If you want to call and ask somebody out, what do you need to know beforehand? What do you need to ask them? It talks about crushes. What's the difference between crush and love? We talk about that in class, but this book is like quick. You need a quick reference. Really good information about that. Information about, different types of touch, what's intimate touch, sexual touch, friendly touch, different things like that. The good pictures, bad pictures. There's one for older kids. There's a junior book and one, I think, for even younger. And that's talks about pornography and child pornography and what it does to your brain. So it's really interesting for a parent's perspective, but then also how you can explain to what pornography might do to somebody's brain.
Very
interesting.
Someone could be susceptible to being addicted to it. It's an interesting read. And then just a really good general book is Teaching Children with Down Syndrome About Their Bodies, Boundaries, and Sexuality. Not just for people with Down syndrome. It is for everyone. It does bring in some information specific to Down syndrome, but the way to have the conversations, the resources are just, really for anyone to use. And these are good for all ages. It might say good for ages, 10 to 15, but we honestly take the information and, we adapt it to whatever age needs it.
Right.
And then,
wow, lots. Yeah.
This is the last one, I promise. Again, new books that are for older teens, boys and sex and girls and sex. And this is like navigating the new teens. So the boys and sex, it's on hooking up and love and porn and consent. And the new, the toxic masculinity, that's the new buzzwords right now. So it talks a lot about that. And then the complicated landscape for girls, for sure. The Celebrating Your Body is great because it shows that every body is different and not one is better than the other, and everyone's body is just completely different. And like the book says, celebrate who you are.
That is so important with today's day and age.
Absolutely. And then the Eulogy is a puberty guide for everybody, like race, color, disability, whatever size you are. And so it's a really positive look. And I like these books because they're sex positive, where a lot of times we get negative messages about sex, which, it's important to understand what's okay and not okay. Not saying, but giving them a positive message also helps promote positive relationships. So
exactly. And to say like, well, my kid's not going to do that. Yeah. Okay. Right.
My kid they're not going to have those feelings.
Yeah. Everybody has those feelings.
Exactly. No matter what level you're at. Yeah. Exactly. So true.
Yeah. That's a key thing. And then the first phone is good. If your child's getting their first phone or even already has a phone, they have contracts that you can create as a parent with your child, different boundaries and online situations that you can talk through with them. It's a lot of resources, but they're like bits and pieces, whatever topic you're looking for. These are not books you have to read cover to cover. These are books and resources you can say, oh, okay, this is something, let's cover this. Yeah.
Right. Got it. No, that's been so awesome. Thank you so much. So if people want to get in touch with you, like want to take the classes, oh, there we go. This is all the things. There we go. When you have classes and when they start and how to get in touch with you. Got it all there. So they're starting. Oh, one's starting next week.
Yes. The adults start next week. We have a morning class and an evening class. Classes are filling, but there are spaces. And then the teens class starts February 3rd.
Got it. And then do you do it like every 3 to 4 months, or do you do it once a year or twice a year?
Twice a
Or is it
year.
just-
Twice a year. And then
Okay.
we also offer parent workshops. So to teach parents about, all of this and ways to understand where their kids of all ages are coming from, what they need to know, how to answer questions, the why, and how to clarify what they're really asking. So yeah,
Awesome.
We also offer professional development, and we have a lot of referrals from people who are entangled in the criminal justice system as well. So we have referrals from judges, advocates, legal teams, prosecutors, and by taking our class, it helps they understand the information and then don't make the same mistakes because they understand the why.
It's mostly
what they did and how to move forward.
Mostly males with intellectual or developmental disabilities that, didn't understand,
Right. I saw somebody else doing it. Why can't I?
Yeah. Right. Or somebody went online and, they were in a chat room and they felt accepted. And then in the chat room, they're sharing child pornography. And they didn't realize, well, I'm accepted. Like, this is the first place I felt accepted.
Right.
But now there's illegal things going on. And so they didn't understand that it wasn't, they can't do that. It's illegal to download and things like that.
People prey on, unfortunately, our kids.
Vulnerable
adults. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of porn is legal, but child porn is not. And so you need to know why. You need to understand about consent and the law and why it's not. And we teach all about that.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. This has been so great. And I know I told you guys I was so excited about this, and I was telling some of my parent friends also. I think I forgot to remind them to watch it, so I'll have to send them the video. But but it's so, it is so important. And it is something I know, like I know myself and I know other friends with and my clients, all of us that have special needs kids. I mean, those of us that even have kids, period, this is all issues. But especially our kids, or neurodiverse kids that have that extra layer that needs to understand, like, where else are you going to learn it? Because as much as I try, I'm not going to. And I mean, ChatGPT can do some of it, but I don't know how, I doubt as detailed as we need it to be.
Right.
Right. And to make sure it's accessible and trauma informed.
Yep.
Comprehensive.
And like you said, from a resource that is going to be trusted, right?
Yeah.
And that is up to date, because things are constantly changing.
Right.
So
yeah. No, this has been so awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining me and being willing to share all your wealth of information.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate
so much.
You've been listening to Stress-Free IEP with your host, Frances Shefter. Remember, you do not need to do it all alone. You can reach Frances through schefterlaw.com, where prior episodes are also posted. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and sharing the show with others through YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more.